to the Business Newsletter Recap Podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Pohl, Google Ads Specialist at Tommy's Express by day and podcaster by night. If you're a business nerd like me, you've found the right show. The goal of the show is to bring you the highlights of some of the top business newsletters out there in audio form, so you can get curated reading done on the go. Think of this as your Sportscenter Top 10 highlight reel of newsletter content. Each episode is about 15 minutes, and I always include handy links for you in the show notes. Today's episode is a little different. Instead of covering several different newsletters, we're doubling down on one from a previous episode. So today is going to be all about guerrilla marketing. I would love your feedback on how you like it, so if you could send me a quick email or LinkedIn message, I would appreciate it. My contact information is in the show notes. In episode 15, we covered a newsletter edition from Nick Huber, where he talked about guerrilla marketing. If you didn't get to listen to that episode, Nick Huber is the founder behind Sweaty Startup and the owner of several businesses. He got his start in entrepreneurship by starting a self-storage company for college students moving back home for the summer. And we shared a few good examples of guerrilla marketing tactics that he used to get his business off the ground. As I mentioned before, Nick really emphasizes the importance of finding where your customers are and getting in front of them in unexpected ways. We tend to tune out ads on TV, on billboards, and on the sidebars of websites where we see them over and over again. Nobody goes out into the world hoping to be advertised to. So tuning out common ad placements shouldn't be shocking. All that it means is that you need to get creative to get people's attention. The most effective guerrilla marketing tactic that Nick shared in his newsletter was sidewalk chalk. Nick figures he went through dozens of buckets of chalk to write thousands of ads on campus walkways in Boston, and it worked. Nobody is exactly expecting to see student storage, studentstorage.com, scrawled in classic pastels on drab pavement. But every college student walks across campus to class, sometimes multiple times a day, passing the same spot. Plus, the ads are washable, so a good rain is all you need to make sure you don't get in trouble for vandalism. Nick ended up getting so many inquiries from these chalk ads that he had to switch his ad copy to recruit employees for his business, and he had success with that too. This story from the Sweaty Startup reminded me of some of the best guerrilla marketing tactics I've seen in my time as a marketer. One that the sidewalk chalk instantly made me think of was a power washing company that laid down a stencil on a dirty sidewalk and power washed their name and phone number into it. This one is great because it leaves no lasting imprint after a good rain, and unlike the chalk, it actually showcases the service they provide. If you're feeling like getting more creative than chalk, this one is simple to do as well. Another great one I saw was recently shared on LinkedIn by Jason Pfeiffer, whose work we featured in previous episodes. The water bottle company Dopper froze a few of their products in a giant ice block and set it out on the streets of Amsterdam with a sign that said, "Break the ice, win the prize." Accompanying the ice block was an employee with a hammer that they could use. This, of course, made a public spectacle of people breaking the ice block to try to get the water bottles, but it also demonstrated an important lesson to keep in mind when planning guerrilla marketing plays. People value things more that they have to work for. Jason really called this out when he shared about Dopper on LinkedIn. If you were giving away a free water bottle to a random person walking by, they wouldn't value it very much. They did nothing to earn it, and it was not something they were looking for. But making a game out of it and having people put in some effort, and you've got plenty of people lined up to try to break the ice. This is why people love winning prizes. A kid values the teddy bear they won at the fair for knocking down all the pins in a carnival game more than if a company was just randomly giving away free teddy bears. This is called effort justification, and it conveniently lends itself to people making some kind of a scene, putting in effort to win a free prize, which is really what guerrilla marketing is trying to do. And if you really want to nerd out about psychology, this is a big reason why sunk cost theory is a thing. It's hard to cut ties on things we've put a lot of effort into because we value it more. if you're liking this episode, you'll want to check out the Marketer Gems newsletter. They put together highlights of marketing tactics, campaigns, and brands crushing it with their branding and marketing strategies. There's plenty of great examples of campaigns in there that you'll want to check out. There's no filler, no AI content, just pure high-impact marketing intelligence. Join me and thousands of others and subscribe now at marketergems.com. Again, that's marketergems.com. And I'll have that link for you in the show notes. Now, back to the episode. The next guerrilla marketing examples come from Exploding Kittens, one of the most popular card games of all time. My First Million recently interviewed Elon Lee, one of the original creators of the game, and he shared two fantastic guerrilla marketing stories that stuck with me. The first campaign they ran at a trade show back when the game was pretty new. They had gone to this same show the year before, but didn't get a lot of attention at their booth, so the next year they decided to step it up a level. They built a giant vending machine made to look like a cat from the Exploding Kittens game art, which was already enough of a spectacle to get people to come take a look, but it's what they sold that created a line so big that they almost got kicked out of the venue. They sold some copies of the game, but they also had an option to buy a random item for $1. When someone picked that option, they would hand $1 in to the person who was inside the vending machine. This was not at all a high-tech thing. And the person would hand them back a pineapple, a pool noodle, a toilet plunger, or a bag of rocks. People were so obsessed with this that they lined up to buy an item and then camped out near the booth to watch what other people got. This created such a crowd that they did have to get it under control to avoid getting kicked out. After that resounding success, they continued to keep the $1 random item option on the vending machine. With how many people would come and visit it, though, they had to start bringing in so many random items that a venue actually told them they needed a grocer's license to bring in that much produce into the event hall. Not to be deterred, Exploding Kittens registered as a grocer in the state of Indiana and went on to register in a total of 14 U.S. states, which has to be one of the wildest ways to commit to the bit that I've ever seen, marketing or not. And obviously, this helped drive a ton of hype and attention to their booths, and they sold thousands of copies of their game at these events. I shared the vending machine to licensed grocer story on LinkedIn, but the other story that Elon told on the podcast that got people to show up to their convention booths was honestly a little weirder. Hopefully you've played Exploding Kittens before, or this visual is about to be a little confusing, but they made laminated cutouts of one of the graphics of a kitten holding a bomb from the game with a long lit fuse on it that said, "Defuse the bomb," and then had their booth number. They then snuck through and put them in every single urinal in the convention center. Sure enough, it got people to show up to the booth and also got the venue to threaten to charge them for urinal advertising space if they pulled the stunt again. I was disappointed to learn that Elon and the Exploding Kittens team never paid to advertise there in future shows. That MFM episode where I got those two campaign examples was a great one, so I'll have that linked in the show notes if you want to take a listen to the full interview that they did. The final guerrilla marketing campaign we'll highlight certainly isn't as cheap as the rest of the ones we've covered today, but it's still far more cost-effective than traditional advertising when you account for how much media attention it got. Back in 2018, Domino's Pizza launched pavingforpizza.com to highlight the damage that bad roads can have on your pizza delivery, and then a map of the US where they were fixing potholes. They either sent out crews themselves or gave grants to communities in all 50 states, stamping the Domino's logo in paint on each of the filled craters. On top of many people noticing these in the wild, this stunt got millions of impressions from all the articles written about it and local TV stations covering it in the communities where they were fixing things up. From the estimates I read on their website, about $250,000 went into the campaign, and it still gets talked about 6 years later. In comparison, national ad buys for major sporting events can cost far more and usually are forgotten about after the commercial break ends. This is a great example of getting in front of an entire community, since virtually anyone living near a Domino's is their target audience. To recap these tactics, we looked at hijacking sidewalks with chalk, power washing to get your message in front of people walking by, a couple of interactive stunts involving giant vending machines and giant blocks of ice that people can't help but check out, and leaving things in bathrooms where you rarely ever find advertisements. Finally, we looked at a large publicity stunt that benefited local communities and built brand equity for Domino's. Hopefully, you can draw some inspiration as you work on your own guerrilla marketing campaigns. And if you did like this episode, I know it's a little bit different, please let me know. And if you liked my classic episode formats as well, I'd love to know that too. But no episode would be complete if I didn't mention that it is 100% free to leave a rating on Spotify, a thumbs up or subscribe on YouTube, or share it with a colleague or fellow business nerd who might enjoy it. It really does mean a lot to me. Thank you, as always, for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Business Newsletter Recap.